Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing the film How to Make a Killing. So, Sarah, do you want to kick us off with an IMDb summary for How to Make a Killing?
Sure. Disowned at birth by his obscenely wealthy family, blue-collar Beckett Redfellow will stop at nothing to reclaim his inheritance no matter how many relatives stand in his way.
I have to say, this is a great premise.
It is.
I remember watching the trailer for this, which I usually don't like to watch the trailers, but I was slightly early for a movie weeks ago, and they played this trailer, and I was like, that looks fun.
Yeah.
It just looks like fun. And you got rich people, family being infiltrated by someone who's come for them. We can get on board with that. Easy protagonist empathy building from the jump. So, okay, How to Make a Killing. What is your one-sentence summary for this film?
My summary is stay away from your childhood crush.
Yeah, and maybe when they make comments, we don't need to take the sarcastic comments literally, perhaps.
Just a suggestion, live your life, do what you want, but this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah. Okay, my one-sentence summary is How to Make a Killing and a Mediocre Movie.
Facts. Yes.
Okay, so let's dive in. We're gonna not spoil this movie. It is out in theaters, available to watch. This is interesting because it's a type of film that I would expect to go straight to streaming, but it has a theater release. So honestly, great popcorn movie, really fun time. You can take the whole family, you can take your friends. It's really fun and spritzy and just a good time. So we won't spoil this movie quite yet. So, Sarah, high-level thoughts about How to Make a Killing. What do you think?
Okay, so my theory about this film is that your enjoyment of this film is directly proportional to how charming you think Glen Powell is. I could be wrong because I have not tested this theory on anyone but myself. So we'll see if I'm proven wrong. Guys, let me know.
That is the best take you've made all year, and I will replay that in my mind rent free. That is some great movie commentary, let me tell you. I didn't know what you were gonna say, but it was not
good.
that, and I think that is also just straight truth.
Excellent. I'm very pleased at this. Okay, so I don't find Glen Powell charming, so I did not particularly enjoy this film.
This was torture for you.
It wasn't torture. I don't think it's a bad movie, but per your one-sentence summary, it is a mediocre movie. I wanted it to be funnier. I wanted it to be darker.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be grittier. It felt vanilla, kind of plain, middle of the road. And I'm just like, in the year of our Lord 2026, this isn't cutting it for me. But I don't think it's a bad film. Because I don't find Glen Powell charming, I needed something else to really sink my teeth into and feel invested in this story. But if you find him charming, then this is probably a really fun ride to go on, even if it's not, gritty or really funny or any of those things. If the star power is working for you, you'll probably have a fun time. If it's not working for you, then you're going to probably be left wanting.
Yes. Best take of the year. I would agree. And as someone who is far more on the other side of the spectrum of finding Glen Powell charming and wonderful and delightful, I have to say, this is not allowing him to shine the way that he can. And so I was thinking a lot about Hitman, which I know a lot of people had such a fun time. I had a really fun time. That movie is like not that deep, just a great time. And I think How to Make a Killing is trying to recreate that same recipe, but it is a mediocre movie and does not do what Hitman did well, understanding the formula, knowing what it is, and delivering on that well. I think How to Make a Killing is just it's weak on all on many fronts. Um, and I love a popcorn movie. I actually think that the place in the movie landscape that How to Make a Killing can have is a gap that is not being filled right now. And so I was actually just more sad to see that this movie didn't do the spritzy, fun popcorn movie and allow us to leave, on a high. I think Crime 101, which is a film we reviewed recently, is a much better example of a film that is occupying the same space, the same need in the movie landscape, and executing that as well as it can and doing its job. I think How to Make a Killing just feels a little bit cheap to me and very, very, very thin. Hitman, same formula, has a really great time. And I was just kind of comparing, like, why does Hitman work so well and How to Make a Killing just doesn't? It's Glen Powell playing dress up and being charismatic, but it really works in one formula. It didn't work in this one. And so I think that's where a lot of my thoughts went down, is how could we have made How to Make a Killing better? So this is one of our iconic movies and us rewrite episodes that we're going to do again, because when we have a mediocre movie that has the right ingredients, we often feel like we need to rewrite the recipe to make a better stew.
Yeah, I think so. I read after the film on IMDb, so I don't know if this is real, but this is what IMDb said, is that this script was featured on the 2014 blacklist of the year's most liked scripts in 2014. And that makes this movie make sense to me. This movie doesn't make sense in
Oh, that's interesting.
2026 because we've seen so many eat the rich films. And so if you're
Mm,
going to be in this genre, we need you to do something different,
mm,
interesting, innovated in some way, like make yourself stand out. But this feels like something that would have been more palatable in, like the
mm,
2010s. As opposed to today. So I do wonder if that's also part of it. Obviously, things are updated for
mm,
today, but I think the basic core of this film doesn't mesh with where we find ourselves today. And I think what we as moviegoers are expecting from a film in this genre today. So
mm,
I wonder if this being a script from over a decade ago contributes to that feeling of it feeling thin and kind of having no teeth,
mm.
which is not
Yeah.
really what you want from a film in this genre. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been kind of like mulling on that idea.
That's a fascinating detail, actually, because I think it actually informs a lot of why this film isn't looking to do more. And also, there's um, a a lack of cynicism that this film has, which I think is it makes sense for a 2014 period of time where just this amount of spice was enough to satisfy us. But it's almost like we've been all consuming spicy food at Flavor Max, and now we're like, yeah, we need a little more flavor. Our spice tolerance is very high now. Um, and so I think that's another like fascinating, yeah, detail and backstory for this. And perhaps they didn't revisit the script enough to know what is the sensibilities and preferences and where's the headspace of the audience right now. Um, which I'm excited to talk about with where this film chooses to end as well. Um, so okay, so spoiler if you haven't seen How to Make a Killing, I would say we had a good enough time. Maybe prerequisite is Gage, do you want to watch Glen Powell? If yes, go watch this movie and take a bunch of people and have a great time, get popcorn, get snacks. If you don't really, if that's not your guy, then take Sarah's advice and
Yeah,
maybe go watch something else. Or go
go
watch
watch
Hitman,
something else.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or go
here,
see Crime 101.
I didn't even like Hitman, but that was a much better movie than this. So like go play that again.
Yeah.
That was at least more fun, I think, than this was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so where shall we begin? What are some things that really you found yourself thinking about after watching this film, other than why does Glen Powell smile that way?
Yes, that was a thought that I had.
Me too, multiple
But
times.
I mean, whatever. Live your life, my man. Smile how you want to smile. Um, I I don't know. Do we want to start on like a snarky route, or do we want to start on like a true positive route? Where do we
Oh,
want to begin our journey today?
I feel we should begin with what is most authentic for the moment, which is maybe just start with the start. We can end on a high, you know?
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I okay, so one of the things obviously we're going to try and rewrite this film in a number of ways, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I wanted was this to be paced a little bit differently. I
Mm,
think for me, the kills all happen so quickly and so matter of factly that as they were going, I was like, wait, you've already taken out too many of them. Like, this is just paced wrong. This is not
mm,
how we're supposed to do this movie. So I think if they had played with the pacing a little bit and like I don't know, I feel like this film is at like a 5, but I wanted it to be at like an 11. Like
mm,
the one of my favorite moments is when he is with the mega church pastor and Topher Grace is doing his best mega church guy. I loved that scene because it was so over the top. And so I
mhm,
wanted more of that. I
mhm.
wanted to spend a little bit more time with these family members. I wanted them to be ridiculous and larger than life. I wanted the kills to be creative and kind of off the wall. Like
Yeah.
I wanted this film to just be more than it is. I needed it to be everything that it's doing, just dial it up to a million. And I think that would have been more fun because it just felt kind of pedestrian, kind of safe. And I think that there's a way to, like you were saying, we have the ingredients, but I want to combine them a little bit differently so that this would pack more of a punch rather than just playing it safe for the entire runtime, pretty much.
Hmm. Which is something that I think Hitman does a much better job of, is playing up the volume of how ridiculous the scenarios are, um, and how much the protagonist that we're following has to be in these kind of dangerous, uncomfortable situations with these hugely colorful characters and figure out how to navigate and survive, and fool them essentially. And there's so many moments like that I think could have been, yeah, bigger, more splashy, more entertaining, larger than life, because we are with characters that are larger than life, that live their lives at a velocity and in a headspace that is so ridiculous, but they take themselves so seriously that like that makes for the most fun. um I got to see this film in a pretty decently packed theater in LA. Once again, it's been so fun watching movies in LA, warming my heart every time. Nearly full theater, and that was really fascinating to watch and observe when we got the most laughs. And it was always when we were with the characters in the film that were from the family that were the most larger than life. It's the conversations that Glen Powell's having with the artsy fartsy cousin. That played for a lot of great laughs, and then the Topher Grace scene also played for a lot of great laughs. And so clearly, that's what the audiences want. That's fun. That's spritzy. We love to watch rich people be ridiculous, but think that they're being incredibly self-serious. That like tension's really fun for us when they mean everything they say and we're laughing in their face. That's exciting to us. And so you're right. I think playing up those personality traits even further, and maybe just like pushing the danger and the tension of the scene a little bit more, would have been helpful too. Another thing that I think Hitman does really great is every scene I feared for Glen Powell. I really didn't fear for him at all for most of this movie, other than the Topher Grace scene, in which I was like, this he might literally just full on fight in this office space. But for the most part, he's never in serious danger. And I think that also doesn't make for an adrenaline pumping experience that you need for a film called How to Make a Killing.
Yeah, and even when, like, the FBI shows up to interrogate him, like, I was never concerned for him, even though he's leaving fingerprints everywhere, and so I'm like, if a competent, police force was investigating this, they would have found your fingerprints and found incriminating evidence, but it's fine. But I was never concerned when they showed up. It was just like, no, this is just like a forcing function of the story rather than feeling as though he was in actually any danger of the law. It was honestly Margaret Qualley's character who created the most tension and danger for him. And I think she's great in this, but for me, she almost seemed like she was in a completely different movie than everybody else. And like not in a like fun, interesting way, but in a what was the direction that you were given and what did everyone else get? Because she's doing some great stuff in this, but it does not make sense given what everyone else in the film is doing. So I feel like somebody did her dirty, and I think that's rude, given that she is the primary source of tension and danger in this film.
That was one of my notes too, as well. Is what did I write down here? Julia's character, Margaret Qualley, underutilized in this film because I think she's the most interesting part of this movie, actually. And she just kind of shows up randomly throughout. And I think would have been really interesting, like parallel threads to watching Glen Powell figure out how to, the puzzle essentially of having to take all of these cousins out and not get caught is having Margaret Qualley's character, Julia, just on his case. Not really sure. Maybe there's a shroud of mystery at the beginning, like he's getting blackmailed. Photographs are arriving in his home, and that paranoia is starting to set in. It's making him maybe unsure of how to take out his next target, but building the tension of Julia's always watching and she sees it all, and she's always one step ahead of him too. So this kind of cat and mouse where the FBI is on his case, but really you should be afraid of this incredibly intelligent woman that is watching you, stalking you, and she needs to be the Barry Keoghan of Crime 101. Just like you are not safe. And that unsettledness is really fun for us as the audience. We love to watch an intelligent woman outsmart a man. Like, I think all of that could have worked really well. And Margaret Qualley has the charisma and the toxicity. She can sell that really well too. They're weaving a little bit of like obsession. It's about obsession. It's about power and control. Some of the like toxicity in the romance too. Maybe I'm inspired from our recent conversation about Wuthering Heights, but like the fact that he keeps saying no to her and he's with somebody else, like she wants to get his attention, but she also wants to control him. That's all so fun and so interesting. And we would eat that up as audiences because we love to watch toxicity and a cat and mouse chase on screen. So she just kind of randomly like drops bombs and then like is gone for the next like 30 minutes of the movie. And a slow burn with her character would have been more fun.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly she's doing it in this film, kind of playing that femme fatale kind of role, and she's doing it well. So we just want more of it. And I think that's the other thing is Glen Powell's character. Yes, he is nervous, but the other thing that bothered me about this is the constant narration. I was like, I don't need your voice constantly in my ear, and the narration is not entertaining to me, so please stop it. But I think because he's constantly narrating, I never felt the danger of the moment because I
Mhm.
know that he's telling
Uh,
this as a flashback. So like I'm not particularly concerned at any point in the film because I
mm,
know you're gonna get arrested. You're gonna end up in prison at some point. So I'm just chilling while you're coldly and coolly narrating this whole thing. So I wonder if this was framed differently, maybe relying less on that narration if that could have been an opportunity to like turn up that sense of danger and have that like
Mm,
slowly build over the course of the film. And then of course it all comes to a head because, the femme fatale does what she does best.
mm. Yeah, I was actually going to ask your thoughts about the framing of constant conversations with the priest in prison, because we know that he gets caught. And I think it's trying to do like a fun twist ending of like he's in prison, but then there's actually like more to the story than we find out. But maybe we've been spoiled with some like really great twists throughout the years since 2014 that it didn't feel like a huge twist to me. But the comment you have around like the voiceovers are just not that interesting, I think is sound because there's nothing snarky and spritzy and like distinct about the way that he's describing the story. And I actually think another alternate version of this film and another multiverse strand is the way that the moral gray area truly becomes so gray that you become the thing that you hated. That's like fascinating to me because it was something that I was thinking about the entire time is here's this character who's seemingly living a stable life, albeit like probably in a lower class than the rest of his family. And how does he convince himself or rid himself of the guilt? Will the guilt ultimately overtake him by the end of the film, or will he essentially become what he has despised and earn his way into that role in that position, which is kind of where the film ultimately chooses to end his arc. But descent into that, the self written narratives around justifying that, I think would have been really interesting to have included in the conversations with the priest so we can see the contrast between in the flashbacks of all of his killings, like he's scared, he's nervous, he feels like anxiety and tension. And as each kill is happening, he's learning to justify himself so that when we get those conversations with the priest, he's kind of like, that was the right choice to do. Like I think that would have been really fun to see the contrast between where that character is now in the present and where he was before. So it reminds me a little bit of in True Detective season 1 that we get to see that constant use of gosh, they've come a long way since the story that they're narrating. And their commentary now is so different from what we see that character is actually experiencing in the past. So I think that could have been really neat is how does the good guy become the villain?
No, I like that. And I think that ties into another issue that I had with this film is sorry, I have a lot of issues with this film. Um is I never knew where we were in time. I didn't know how much time had passed between kills, and I feel like the film like tried to drop that information in, but I was
Mm,
never certain. So like while I'm going through this, it just kind of felt like every couple of months he killed somebody off, but I don't think that was actually the timeline. And so I wonder if this was a little bit more clear on when things were happening, then those differences as this character
mm,
devolves or changes or hardens himself or whatever it is, then those would become more apparent because we're aware of where we are in time. I don't know.
mm.
I think that groundedness would have maybe helped me through this film because I was just kind of like, I don't know when all of this is happening. Like how long between funerals? I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And like each killing also needs to go a little bit more wrong and he needs to get out closer and closer by the seat of his pants instead of it almost felt too easy each time. And each time was equally easy too. I love that the first one's almost like kind of an accident and he gets sucked into this life. I thought that was really great. So, a highlight, a great moment is just the accidental. I love that it almost subverts our expectations. We expect this big, schemy plan, and he's kind of like, I was debating if I should do this or not, and like I go, I think I just killed someone. That's really fun, but by the last killing, it has to be like he's barely or an innocent bystander dies, or like something big has to like real costs need to start to happen. he is something also more dramatic than like, oops, he missed his engagement party. It's like, no, his like wife, I don't know, his, you know, like, I don't know. I think just the volume, and maybe this goes back to your point around pacing, the volume of stakes, the volume of difficulty all need to be crescendoing to that big explosive ending sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, and so a couple of other ideas that I had about this film, uh, they would be very tonally different, but if we wanna go really fun and ridiculous,
Mm.
I almost want him to, like, screw up every kill in some way. And it's just like
Oh,
this he has this, like, really well laid plans, and it's just people are dying accidentally, and he I don't know, somehow then gets framed or like gets blamed for a murder that he actually didn't cause even though he planned out the murder. It just went wrong. I don't know. I feel like there's something there to make him kind of a buffoon and kind of the butt of the joke, but then he was trying to do this plan. He just sucked at it and he winds up in jail anyway. I think that there's something like darkly comedic that you could do about that. And then another idea, which is kind of the complete opposite of that, is that like someone else, you would need more family members for this, but like somebody else starts doing the killings, and the attention is focused on him, and then that kind of like inceptions the idea in his brain, and he kind of like piggybacks on to the killings that are already happening, or something like that. Like that would be a much darker version of this film, but I think that that could be really interesting. But that's like the gritty version of this film as opposed to like the whatever the version is that we got.
yes, I love that. It's almost this like race to who gets to take the other out by the very end. Like the opening scene of Dark Knight, like who's the final dude in the mask that gets to be standing with the money. And some of that's in the film already with Julia. Like she essentially rides on his coattails for him to take everyone out, take the fall for it, and then blackmail him with the last thing. But to know and follow the race along the way would have been more fun and entertaining for us. Or yeah, him constantly getting framed would be really fun too, you know. And gosh, we love to root for like the good guy that's trying his best but is kind of incompetent, but like good to the core because he is not rich, and he's just one of us because we are all good to the core apparently as the audience. You know, I think there's something really endearing about a character like that. Like Indiana Jones, you know? Like he's not the most competent, but he's trying his best and he wants to do the right thing. Following a character like that would be really fun too. Yeah. Hmm. I also think that like there should have been more family members onto him. Like I think it would have been fascinating to see, which I thought the film was going down a little bit more with either Warren or the grandfather. Instead, the grandfather just kind of like takes out his big bad gun to but I think something more cerebral, something more schemy, something more manipulative. Like we see him easily take out the younger cousins because, you know, they grew up in wealth and they're kind of idiots, which is fun for us to watch. And then it's the older generation that can see clearly how they're being taken advantage of. And I would love to see them set up a trap and watch Glen Powell walk right into a trap by them. Um, Something schemy in that realm could be really fun too. Like Warren was rooting for him, and then Warren was like, "Oh, you're taking out my family, you took out my son. I'm going to scheme something big for you to take a huge fall and watch you flounder as revenge." I think that could be really fun too.
Yes, and that's where I thought this was going too, because the
Mm,
first few kills happened so quickly. So I
yeah.
was like, okay, so he's going to be found out by the family, and that's going to be like kind of like the climax of the film, and he has to try and figure his way out of that. But nope, we didn't do that, and I was
Yeah.
upset.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. Um, Another alternate ending that I think could be really fun, which is maybe inspired by a lot of like the endings of Knives Out too. The Knives Out mysteries is have someone totally random take the money at the end. like, like he's been having the conversations with the priest the entire time, and in the end, the priest is like, "Great, so sign this over, or else like I have all of this evidence against you." Like some zag take, and I think especially, I mean, this is the more cynical route too of like we our mistrust of those that have been in traditional positions of authority and power being corrupt is like oddly satisfying for us to see because it feels resonant in some way. The FBI agent is actually like got a whole family and like this is his way to provide, but like following the whole time and takes the money for himself. I think that would be interesting too, of someone you least expect watching the whole time, and then we can get the fun montage of like how they've collected all the evidence in the end, and ultimately they're going home buying a big house, and like that's the satisfying ending as we get to see someone who needed it, who's a little corrupt, but is going to do what they got to do because that's the doggy dog world that we're in. There's something resonant and satisfying about that too.
Yeah, no, that would be so fun. Yeah, I don't know, this whole film didn't work for me, so the ending also didn't work for me. I don't know that it's, like, set up super well. I think it's supposed to
Mm,
be this, like, sobering moment of, like, yeah, he got the money, but at what cost kind of thing, and it's supposed to be a little bit, like, of a tragic ending, and I'm just
yeah.
like, I'm a terrible person, but I didn't care about this dude. I'm
Mm,
like, your mom gave you some whack advice on her deathbed and you internalized that and then you murdered like however many people. I don't have a lot of sympathy for you, my guy. You made your bed. Now lie in it is kind of like how I went into the ending. So I think a Zag take where that would be satisfying because he did all of these things and his comeuppance isn't jail, but it's he did all of this bad stuff and he doesn't get any other reward, and
mhm.
that is so satisfying for us as viewers.
Yeah, I thought the ending was really shocking to me, because one, he gets what he was working towards the entire time, which I think is not fun for us to see when it's a character that we think it's not good for the character either. He's played to be like this kid who's grown up with so many forces against him. We don't want to see him become the villain. But then two, the ease with which that the ending voiceover, he kind of clears his conscience, I don't think is also like satisfying for us to see because we see enough of that IRL. You know what I mean? Like that is the world around us that I don't know if we really want to see a character like a white man who is now in a position of power like kind of clear himself of responsibility again. Like I don't think that's cathartic for us in the way that maybe the film thought that it might be to see that real world dynamic play out on the big screen. So I think there's something off there about that ending of he's just like, well, and you know, the stories you tell, you could tell yourself a different story, and I think maybe you'll be fine. Like as he's cruising into this mansion. I'm like, I don't know that I'm happy that this man exists in the world now. This is kind of terrifying because that's a lot of the people in the world now. So I think that was also maybe more reflective of a 2014 interesting sentiment ending instead of a 2026 ending.
Yeah, I think to set that ending up to be satisfying,
Yeah.
Glen Powell's character needs to be just like a really good, really earnest guy at the beginning. And then it's the tragedy of, like you were saying, he becomes the
Mm,
villain. And we've just watched him become this completely other person. And that is a tragic ending, but there's a way to make that feel emotionally satisfying.
mhm.
I think another way that you could keep the ending more or less, but I would want it to be like Margaret Qualley's voiceover. And we would have needed more
Mm.
of her throughout the entire film, like
Oh,
we were
yeah.
talking about. But she is the one who has won at the end. And this guy that we have been following is just her pawn and she has come out on top. And there's something, it's very twisted, but I feel like there's a way that that could be more satisfying because she bested this dude and she got everything that she wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that. Like he's been telling this whole story the entire
Mm-hmm.
time, and then she's just like, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get what you want.
Exactly.
That's an inspiring message, you know? Like, especially because she outsmarts him. Like, I don't see how I was not rooting to reward a character who is not really super competent and then also is not super like inherently good. And then because it's mixed so that by the end I'm like, ah, if he was really competent, I'd be like, all right, you worked hard for that. Rest in your loot. Uh but he wasn't really that great at it either way. So you don't even get the satisfaction of like a job well done, even if you disagree with the job. But for her, I'm like, well, this is really great. You should enjoy that mansion because you had to scheme your way there. And that's really exciting to see. Yeah.
And I think
I
that
also think it would have
also,
been.
go ahead.
Did you read the murder suicide of her husband as her doing or truly this isn't? Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
No, I totally read it as she killed him and then framed Glen Powell because, yeah,
So
that is
good.
something that she would do. She is the femme fatale. That is what we expect.
It's so good. What were you gonna say?
Uh, so I think, you know, some of our issues with the ending go back to that pacing bit and not feeling the danger and the tension because
Mm,
if we are supposed to be rooting for Glen Powell's character and we know that he has been imprisoned unjustly, then I don't, if that danger has been present the whole time, we've been constantly worried about his safety. Then he's imprisoned for something he didn't commit, and then he's freed. That is satisfying. But I
mm,
think because we lacked the danger and the stakes and all of that,
mm,
then even him being arrested and jailed doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel
mm,
like this severe consequence that he has endured. Maybe it's because he's a rich white dude and I'm like there's no way that this rich white dude would be in this position. So I can't believe this. But that's a whole nother thing. So
mm,
I think if the stakes and the danger had been more prominent throughout, then his freedom at the end might be more satisfying. Or we might have been rooting for that a little bit more because a form of injustice has been uh canceled. I don't know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I don't know. We just needed more Margaret Qualley, and I feel like that would have solved a lot of issues because she is the danger. She is the brains behind this operation. That could have made the movie a lot better. More of her,
mm-hmm,
please.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And uh more alt endings is like she is um able to scheme quite well and we see like maybe just more twists at the end too what it just like we just need like a charcuterie board of twists to happen. I really think this film has a lot to learn from the Knives Out formula because it allows us to sit with the facts of a given reality for long enough that we truly believe that that is the given reality. We might have a few suspicions, the film accounts for those things, and then we get the huge like opening of the back door of like actually this is how it's been happening the entire time, and the whole understanding of the world and the character dynamics flip on its head. And I think How to Make a Killing kind of needs to do that same thing. That's maybe more of the like over the topness that we need, some more schemy backstory motivations along the way, like Julia manipulating the grandfather. That's a fun, like, for her advantage to take this guy out. Like, just more complexity of the spaghettiing of the relationships. Maybe also would have been interesting too. Yeah, there just like wasn't enough for us to sink our teeth into. It's almost like a little bit too simplified. Um, well, which I think is an interesting distinction, which is either the film needs to give us more plot twists to add to the excitement, or the emotional character beats need to be deeper so that we are also satiated, even in a more simple story. And basically, the film doesn't do either of those two things. But it can choose to ratchet up the volume either because of our emotional investments or, yo, we're just watching some dude navigate a world, but that world is crazy, you know? And that would have also, I think, been satisfying and meaty enough for us too. If it can do both, great. But like either of those two directions would have been more than enough to make this a great experience.
Yeah, because the premise is so fun. It's so entertaining. We were here for this, but it just didn't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I I just I'm here for like the silly comedy version of this. I'm here for the gritty version of this. I'm here for the dark comedy version of this. Like I wish that this movie committed, and it
Mm-hmm.
just felt like it was playing safe. And
Mm-hmm.
that just makes for, like you said in your one sentence summary, a mediocre movie. And that's exactly what this is. When it could have been really fun, really exciting, there could have been emotional depth. Like there's so many different directions to take this premise, and they just didn't take it anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
that is frustrating to me.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, agreed. The other thing that I kept thinking about too, that I think would have helped this film be even more sharp and bright, is all of the rich cousins obviously are representing ideologies or like people groups of people in power, and how they're searching for purpose, identity, control in the state of society, and I think that this film paints them with, I think, broader strokes as well, that it doesn't feel specific enough. It doesn't feel sharp enough for that to have also been really fun to see. It's a little bit predictable. It's a little bit like we've seen archetypes of these types of characters a million times in movies and TV at this point. So I think refining that a little bit more and maybe pushing the envelope slightly more, giving them better dialogue, more interesting, like wild thoughts and commentary, um, and their like just disconnect from reality would have also made this really fun too. Just have, and maybe it doesn't. This film doesn't need to play into the protagonist dynamics as much because it's just fun for us to see him have to navigate this world of like crazy ideologies and comments that are so deranged, but like gosh, did he just say that, you know? So the scene and the conversation with Glen Powell's character and the artsy cousin, I think, starts to get there. One of the funnier moments of the film, but I think also refining those a little bit more would have been better. Once again, Knives Out does a much more nuanced job of like the progressives with the conservatives colliding together in these family dynamics, and you know Tony Collette's character spewing something around things she saw read on Twitter. Like it's so sharply written, and I think had we had more of that in this film too, some great commentary around social dynamics and societal dynamics, that would have been meaty and substantive as well. But we kind of, it's an oversimplified, glossy version of characters we've already met a million times before too. So another area to refine and solidify a little bit more too.
We just basically want to like refine the entire film.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
don't think there's any part of this that is like a home run other than Margaret Qualley. She's great, but
well,
I think that everybody else is uh there's room for improvement, and we just need more of her character. We need all the characters to just, all of them to be better written, their motivations to make more sense. I don't know. I never bought into Glen Powell's whole mission either. Like I was again thinking about Crime 101, and I think one of the
yeah,
interesting things that Crime 101 does is Chris Hemsworth's motivation, I guess spoilers for Crime 101,
Yeah.
is that he wants to steal things for the security of it. And that made sense to me. And I was like, okay, I buy into this character a little bit more because I know why he's doing these things. I
Yeah.
struggled with the Glen Powell character and How to Make a Killing because his mom told him to live the life you deserve. And that translated into his head as kill your relatives so you can become a billionaire. I'm like,
Yeah. It's too
how do we get
simple.
there?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with just being on board with this premise to begin with. So I think clarifying who this character is, making
Mm,
him distinct, his motivations clear, and then we might be more bought in on this journey.
yeah.
Or like you said, like just be zany about it, and then we really won't care about this character because it's just a fun world. So like again, we just needed this film to know what it wanted to do and then do that. But
Hmm.
this film doesn't seem to know what it wants to do. And so it's just middle of the road and kind of uninteresting.
Hmm.
It's a
Hmm.
bummer.
Yeah, because this is a great premise. We are on board with this. I think they have the right guy to do it too. I one of the questions I jotted down is, does this movie work without Glenn Powell? And I think that he, in the type of roles that he's playing, this type of performance, like he's the right guy to do this job. He's clearly done it with Hitman. He can sell just like kind of vanilla guy that can morph into anything that he needs to be. I think he sells that really well. Flashes a smile and like everyone's just like, yeah, come on in, because he's that guy. And so that is the right actor to play, I think, this protagonist who is consistently shape shifting, and no one will bat an eye at it. He can do that. So all the ingredients are there. Like this movie, the best parts of it is basically the one sentence premise that got pitched, and then the casting choice of Glenn Powell. And then it rides that the entire way through instead of really refining this to be what it could be. They just were like, how to make a killing, cool premise, put Glenn Powell in it. And then we don't really care
And
how
that's
many
it.
people are going to show up for it.
That's your movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there was an opportunity to see more of that variance too.
Mhm.
Obviously we see it in Hitman, but when he infiltrates these different places, it's just him putting on a different outfit. Like it would have been nice to like see him like need to assimilate, need to learn how to become one in this group. Yeah, like I just a little bit more of that would have also been fun for him to figure out, because otherwise it's just Glenn Powell in dress up and then he's just
Mhm.
immediately in the room that he needs to be in. So having again that like struggle and that process of needing to figure out how am I going to do this, I think that would have also helped us to think that he is more competent than he is. Because in this, he just shows up, flashes a smile, and then he's in. There's no
Mhm.
resistance at any point in his plan. And we need that for a story to be interesting and for us to continue to be engaged.
Exactly. Exactly. I think Hitman benefits from the fact that like each time he's in a new situation, there's like the logistical challenges of him needing to like get out at the right time, him needing to have the like earpieces and the tech and the gear, and like that's just immediate stakes. It's like, when will he get found out? This film doesn't have that benefit, and so it should rely more on the social dynamics of these highly intelligent, manipulative, rich people realizing, hey, are you that guy that's taken out my entire family? Which is why I think the Topher Grace scenes shine so well. Like every scene needed to be that at different volumes and different flavors. I could watch just like honestly like a whole movie of just more of that. I don't even care how it ends. I would have a great time. But and then the like swerve left of like, oh, okay, you're I thought you were this guy. It's like, oh, nope, I'm just actually trying to kill you. That's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think for me is the highlight of the entire film. It's so funny, it's so over the
With the
top.
sword.
The sword is so good. Like there's just if you have spent any time in the like megachurch evangelical world, there are so many little Easter eggs in that scene that are hilarious. Like that character is so well built out. You know who that is and you
Yep.
know what's happening here. And none of the other characters have that. And so I'm
Hmm.
just like, why couldn't we have spent a little bit more time with some of these other characters, make them fully fleshed out, make them feel like real people? That would have helped tremendously because it's
Yep.
just a bunch of caricatures and no danger. And
Hmm.
that's just,
Hmm.
it's not as
Yes.
fun. But
More
man, Topher
danger.
Grace did great.
Yeah.
He nailed that.
Another area of potential like tripping over danger, things going wrong is I think the way that the love story plotline plays out. Um, there's just so much they could have done with that. One version of this could be he meets this great girl. She's good, she's faithful, which she is in the film. But the toxicity in him, as he is descending from being the good guy to the villain, he just can't stay away from Julia. I think there had been something interesting around like a push pull. Give us some sexual tension. Give us some like, he just is intoxicated. He knows what's good for him is this girl that really loves him, that is faithful and too patient. And I'm so glad she walks away. But gosh, there's something, the childhood love, the crush, the fact that she represents this life that he knew he could never have and now he gets to have it. Like I think that push pull could have been really fun, and maybe that's the thing that is his downfall, is his Achilles heel, is like gosh, he couldn't stay away from the thing that he wants what he wants, and like that's how she tricks him. It's very femme fatale. Like there's so much there that could have worked, but he says no to her so easily, and I'm like gosh, Marco Quelli is looking so incredible. She is so charismatic on screen. Her legs are all over your desk. I don't think that you're saying no. Just like he stands so firm the whole movie that I'm like, what? Like there's no temptation. And she is supposed to be the object of his temptation. And I think that being the beginnings of his downfall or her getting to use that in some way would have been really helpful to add some spice to the plot, create some real hurdles, get him in trouble, all that good stuff we love to see in movies. He just keeps saying no so faithfully.
Right? It's wild. I did not believe that, especially because the film spends so many minutes at the beginning being like, and this was my childhood crush, and
Right?
I was obsessed with her and I loved her, and we spend so much time with him as a child obsessed with this girl. And then he just says no to her every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
then why did you waste my time at the beginning of the film
Yes.
showing me how much little kid Glen Powell loved her? I just,
Mm-hmm.
if he's going to say no to her all the time, why didn't we cut those minutes?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And it can nail the point home of what he might have been obsessed with her. He thinks he's obsessed with her. What he's really obsessed with is the ability to change his class. It's great expectations, like, and the impossibility of that, or finally getting the girl, getting the money, and realizing you lost everything along the way, and you're basically trapped in this life. That's also great for us to see too. Kind of the bubble bursting of the halo around this thing that is mixed in with the romantic desires. It's mixed in with childhood. It's mixed in with like this desire to become somebody that you are not. I think would have been really really valuable to see. I think sorry to keep comparing this movie to Hitman, but it really is like nearly the same movie. Hitman does an amazing job of using that dynamic in the context of the romance, because he essentially is this shy, awkward guy who's never felt confident, but he gets this taste of what it's like to be somebody that he's not, and that helps him get the girl. But now there's a real problem at stake in the romance of, but I'm not that guy. But am I that guy now? In the end of the film, he becomes that guy and truly embraces that. And almost like unlocks this part of him that he never thought that he could be. So he really does change who he is. But that is woven so heavily into the romance that like we really feel for like this is a ticking time bomb. This is not going to work. This love story, that female character who plays his fiance, she has no character development at all either. She is just there to be essentially the romantic love interest, and that's very 2014 of us too.
Yeah, and I liked her character because she is the only one in this film that's like, I don't care about money. Like, I'm going to leave my well-paying job and go be an English teacher. I love that.
Yeah.
I just wish that the film utilized her better because that's a great contrast, especially if Glen Powell is in the middle and he is attracted to both of these women. One of them is rejecting wealth and is
Mm.
choosing, happiness. And the other one has all the money in the world, which is the thing that he also wants. And he's in this
Yeah.
tension because he likes them both. And what do I do with these two polar opposites? That could have been interesting. But
Yeah.
I feel like both of the women in this film were just poorly utilized, and
Mm.
changes to those characters and how prominent they are in the film, what their journeys are, could have helped make this film a lot stronger than it is. But instead, they're just kind of there.
They're just they're there to serve. They don't even like use the two of them, yeah, well enough to
No.
showcase this like basically he's staying at a crossroads, like what life will he choose. And I should we end on a high? Let's like
Yeah.
wrap with like things we really liked about the film.
Yes.
This is one of the things I actually really liked is there's a point in the film where he's killed maybe like two dudes. He's living his very corporate financial job. He has this engagement. And I love the voiceover part in that where he's like, you'd think that this life would be enough for me. I have everything that I wanted, but somehow I just kept saying yes to completing my mission. And I think that's a really, if they played that up more, that would have been really fun. But I love that they included that, which is basically this like thirst and hunger for more, to like have more, and the allure of that, the more that you chase it, the more that the desire grows for that, because it's always going to be unsatisfying. I think was really neat because we look at his life and we're like, he's working this really fancy job, he's making enough money, he has this beautiful apartment with this incredible woman who is a literal angel that loves him, and yet he's still like that's not enough. And I think that's so reflective of the human condition so much, is that we get tunnel vision, we get lost in the sauce, and like that insatiable desire for more really gets us in trouble. So I really appreciated that. The other thing I really loved is a constant cutting to the funeral scene with the same angle shot. I thought was really funny. I thought it would get old faster, but it doesn't. And I think it's one of the later deaths where the angle slightly changes. And I think that was really neat to showcase like this was consistent for a while and things are going well, but like things are not going so well anymore. Like something is shifting and that camera changes in like kill number 5 or 6. To showcase the descent into like chaos is about to ensue. But for a while, the cut to the same shot with the same angle is really funny. So that worked for me.
And the little ducks in the pond. I loved those ducks every time. They were so cute.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, my positive thing that I would like to shout out is actually a line that Jessica Henwick's character says,
Okay.
and she says, "It's scary to dream small," and
Oh, yes.
that little line has kind of like burrowed inside of my brain because I feel like so
Mm,
many of us were taught like when we were kids, like
yeah.
you can do anything, you can change the world, and like encouraged to dream big dreams and all of these things. And I don't think that was bad or malicious or anything, but I know now as an adult there is this temptation to look at my life and be like,
Mhm.
I'm living a small life. I'm not doing enough. Like I'm not, my dreams aren't big enough. And so when she said that, it really just like resonated with me. And
Mm,
being okay with small dreams,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like, we don't have to dream the biggest dreams on the planet. We can
Mhm.
dream small, and there's something beautiful and wonderful about that. There's something
Love
beautiful
that.
about living a small life.
Yeah.
And so I love that that was in there. I don't know, that to me highlighted the entire movie is that
Yeah.
little sentence that she says, because I think it's just, I don't know, it's so different than we're taught. It's so different than, what culture tells us. So I don't know, I really loved that. I wish that they had used that character better, because she
Yeah.
was great. She had so many bangers. But yeah, I loved that line and that sentiment, which, again, if this was written a little bit differently, could have worked to play that up in contrast with Glen Powell's everything getting more larger than life. But I think the film tries to do that, but I don't think it does it
Hmm.
effectively.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
like how my positive then became a negative, but yes, I loved that line.
Well, this is the fascinating thing about movies like this, which is when we see the potential of what it could be and how everything is there, and the film starts a little bit down that path. And so it's like, okay, you had the right idea. Just go, run free, go in that direction, versus a film that is like very clearly oriented in some weird, I don't know, it just like the vision was clearly bent in this direction. Those are different kind of conversation. We tended to more talk about like the ripple effects of to tell a story in this way, and like what that does, and how it affects the audience and the message and kind of the twisted way this is telling. But this film, I think, has a lot of the right ideas, but didn't take advantage, didn't mine for them in the same way. I love that we see that character Ruth like walk out her small dreams too, and the way that we can clearly see it is so meaningful, so impactful. She lights up when she talks about when they're sitting at that like Asian restaurant, and she's so excited sharing about her students and stuff. That was inspiring. We got to like spend a little bit of time with her, seeing her really live up to the words that she said before too. So that was cool. Great positive thing that you've picked. So wonderful.
Honestly, I think we did great. We both brought positive things to the table, which is pretty impressive.
All right.
This is the most frustrating type of movie to me, because it's not a bad movie. It's just a meh movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fine. I gave this 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. It is absolutely mediocre. And I love it when we just talked about Wuthering Heights. Emerald Fennell swung for the fences. Didn't
Yep.
quite work for me, but I respect the hell out of that, because wow, she had a vision and she executed it, and you go, girl. I feel like How to Make a Killing just didn't have a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so sad to me. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
have a great premise, but you took no swings, you took no chances, you didn't do anything daring with this premise, which is a bonkers premise. Like, why didn't you
Yep.
go in a direction with this? I don't know. This is just
Missed
frustrating when a
opportunity.
movie is just vanilla. It's just
Mm-hmm.
boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
fine. But we
Yep.
found positive things, because there are good things in this, even though it is very middle of the road.
Yes. Yes. We did. We found it. And I think this film has mass appeal to be really great, to make a lot of money, to have audiences show out for a Glen Powell, some Margaret Qualley, just like it has everything to be a great time at the movies, to get people out in butts and seats. So it had all the right ingredients: marketability, some sharp commentary, some social dynamics, a really great message at the end, a reckoning of like morality. All of it's there. Great time, great kills. We love to see that. So the ingredients were all so perfectly primed, but they couldn't land the plane. That's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our episode discussing and rewriting How to Make a Killing. Honestly, it's a great title too. I'll have to say, like,
So
great job to the
good.
marketers. Yeah, really
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
But
Hilarious. The trailer was good.
the
Like,
trailer was so good.
the marketing for this
Yes.
10 out of 10. You did a great job. It was just the movie itself that had some issues. But title, poster even, trailer, all
Nailed
good
it.
stuff.
Nailed it. Yep.
I mean,
So-
we put our butts in the seats, so.
We did.
You know.
We did.
We did
On
our
the name of the
part.
pod. I was actually really excited for this movie. I was like ready to have a
Me
great
too.
time. And it was just fine.
It was fine.
But go see it if you want to. Go support the movie theaters. It's a good enough time. Come back, share your thoughts about how we should rewrite How to Make a Killing as well. Some alternate. Every great new movie maybe come from like rewriting another movie and, you know, inspiration in that way of making things better and great. So anyway, this was our conversation about how to make a killing. It was fun to see kind of a more fresh, spritzy film, new release film before we head back into Oscar prep. So more on the feed for that soon. We have some really exciting stuff in the works with some pod friends too coming up for Oscar season. So it's a good time of year. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll chat again with y'all very soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating review letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Movies and Us Pod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.